Turner, PGC Basketball. We're going to round out week 1 of our March Madness coverage by giving you a full scouting report of this year's version of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. The Zags have had quite a ride over the last 20 years. They've gone from upstart Cinderella to prohibitive, top 3 seed in the NCAA tourney over the last 5 to 10 years. We've seen them have heartbreak with the Adam Morrison teams. We've seen them, have big moments and big buzzer beaters and finally get their breakthrough in 2017 by making the NCAA championship and losing a really close game to North Carolina. But through it all, the Zags have now become a fixture in March, and they have a chance to make a deep run in this year's March Madness. Even though they just lost the West Coast Conference Finals to St. Mary's, expect Gonzaga to get a 1 or maybe 2 seed, and definitely expect them to be able to make a deep run with the pieces they have. So let's get into the scout. If we're playing Gonzaga this year, it all starts with stops. This is one of the most dynamic offensive teams in the country, probably the best and most explosive offensive team Few has had in his tenure at Gonzaga. And for them, it all starts with this transition game. They get out and run and fill lanes, and at every position, they are fast. They have team speed across the board this year. Their forwards, Hachimura and Clark, not only are their best players, they're their best runners, and that's where they get their easiest baskets, and they're at their most efficient. So if we're preparing to play the Zags this year, the first thing on the scout has to be, 1, we need to get back. But even more importantly, getting back starts with our offense. Gonzaga is so dynamic at running off turnovers. So if you turn it over, within about 2 to 3 seconds, they're going the other way. And with the team speed they have at all positions, they convert turnovers to layups like no one else in the country. So we got to, 1, protect the ball. The second piece, and maybe just as important as limiting our turnovers, it's going to be choosing what shots are we going to shoot, particularly in the paint. Gonzaga is so good at blocking shots. They're 5th in the country. And Brandon Clark, their star forward, is 3rd individually in the country. So this is a team that loves contesting shots in the paint. And just like those old 60s Celtics where Bill Russell manned the paint and started their fast break with block shots, the Zags do exactly the same. So many of Clark and Hachimura's blocked or contested shots lead to easy 2s going the other way. So first and foremost, we can't let the Zags go on those 8-0s, 15-2, 24 runs that just end the game. We got to protect the ball and take great shots and not let them go on their spurt. But Gonzaga isn't just going to run off of turnovers and block shots. They're going to run all the time. 3 additional things that make their running game really special. First, as you see on this clip, that's Brandon Clark, their 4-man, getting a rebound, pushing it all the way for a basket. The second clip is Rui Hachimura. You could say they're 5, right? An NBA prospect getting a rebound and going coast to coast, kind of like Giannis. And on this third one, you see Corey Kispert going all the way. So the Zags, no matter who gets it, whether it's a guard or forward, they're all versatile enough to start the transition game and ignite the break. So a couple decisions our team's going to have to make. 1, we're probably going to have to crash less on the offensive glass, and we're going to have everyone getting back earlier and building a wall so they can't get these easy baskets. The second additional piece that makes their transition game special is the Zags have great shooters around the floor. And because of the amount of pressure they constantly put on the rim by getting downhill off the bounce and by sending their runners to the rim, the defense tends to gravitate toward the basket to stop those easy 2s, which frees up all of their shooters for really open looks in transition. And last but not least is their rim running. This is the best rim running team in the country. Clark and Hachimura are 2 of the fastest, if not the fastest, players at the country in their position, and they're constantly going to be beating our defense up the floor if we're not prioritizing getting back early and making sure that we all stay home on the rim until our forwards recover. So stopping the transition game is priority 1 for sure on our scout. But let's dig in and look at some of their half-court offense. So first and foremost, Gonzaga is going to be attacking you early and unpredictably in their offense. They're not going to call out a ton of sets and run a ton of action. They're going to put the ball in the hands of one of their dynamic guards, and they're going to look to hunt the paint. They're going to set early ball screens and early 2-man game situations with their versatile forwards, and they're going to put pressure on you. So defensively, we have to stress, yes, get back, stop the 2s, but even more importantly, get matched up early, be ready to talk out any ball screens or two-man game situations, and have your help defense ready to rotate. The second thing you're going to have to prepare for with Gonzaga is if the guards aren't aggressive getting downhill or there's no ball screen set, they're going to look to go high-low game. Both their forwards are so great at sealing inside to gain position, but they're also really good at making this high-low pass and putting it on the money so that their partner in crime has an easy opportunity for a layup. Our forwards are not only going to have to be ready to sprint back to stop the rim run, they're going to have to battle for position early in the possession. Because if we give up these touches, it's not only going to lead to open layups, we're going to have to now double team, and it's going to lead to kick out threes, or we're going to have to suck in to stop the lob pass, and that's going to lead to long closeouts. But this scenario for Gonzaga is probably where they are most dangerous in the half court. If they get high-low touches, you can expect them to beat you. What makes Gonzaga really special is you got to go battle with those two guys down inside 5 feet, but probably the most efficient thing that those guys do is they attack you from the high post or mid post in isolation situations. Very few teams have two guys, not one, but two guys that can guard a player like a Hachimura or a Clark. So the first thing we have to understand is where the touch is coming. Well, they might come from the elbow, they might come from an extended post touch, or they could just catch on the perimeter outside the three-point line. These are three places that those two guys will catch the ball and just kill you with one-on-one moves. So we've got to take the basketball away from them in these spots as much as we can. The second thing we have to do is we have to load up to them. We've got to put guys in the gaps. We've got to have guys ready to dig when they put it on the ground. And yes, this is tough because Gonzaga has great shooters to kick to, but we just can't let Clark and Hachimura roll downhill inside 5 feet and get dunks and layups. And then the last priority that we have in this scouting report is we want to be prepared for Gonzaga's ball screen game. In the half court, once they get past their primary and secondary options, they're going to be setting a ton of ball screens. Clark, Hachimura, Killian Tilly, who's coming back off injury, those three guys are going to be setting a ton of screens, and they can roll, they can pop, they can play make from the inside to out, and the guards can all come off the screens, get into the paint, and find shots of their own. So however we plan on defending their ball screens, we have to have them dialed in and ready to go. Because in the course of a possession, you might guard one ball screen well, and then they're going to come set a second or even a third, and it may come from a different kind of player, more of a pick and pop shooter, or more of a versatile guy who can drive. And so we have to be dialed in, and we have to understand who's setting the screen, where are they setting it, what are we doing against it, and then what are we doing after the screen is set to make sure that they can't get the ball into prime scoring territory. So different teams have different styles. Some are more set-based. They're going to run 30, 40 different sets at you throughout the course of a game. Gonzaga is the exact opposite. They're playmaking based. They want to beat you in transition. They want to beat you with early offense. And Mark Few just trusts that he has veterans, guys that know how to play. They understand the game. And he gives them a ton of freedom and leash to go do this with not only how they play in transition, but how they play in the half court. So we're going to have to be basketball players. We're going to have to be ready to guard more of a motion or attacking style of offense. We're going to have to be ready to guard high-low actions out of transition and off ball screens. We're going to have ball screen coverage ready to go because they're going to throw random ball screens at us all over the court. It's this unpredictability to their offense that makes it so great. If you think about the way the Golden State Warriors play or the way the great Villanova teams have played over the last couple years, there aren't a lot of sets. It's a lot of free movement. It's a lot of having players understand concepts and understand the game and just be able to be themselves and read the game. And that's what Gonzaga's all about this year. An X factor to Gonzaga's potential Final Four run and run to a potential first ever title is going to be Killian Tilly. He's a guy who was a preseason All-American player this year, and he was hurt for most of the season. Brandon Clark and Rui Hachimura emerged into stars themselves, and now they get to add this third guy back into their rotation, and not only into the rotation, but he gets to come off the bench. So there are some out-of-bounds plays we're going to have to prepare for, a few sets. We're going to have to understand Zach Norvell is a knockdown shooter, and we got to run him off the line, and some other personnel points. But scouting is about what is the main thing, and then it's about how can we keep the main thing, and take away what they're great at. So if you're going to beat Gonzaga, it's going to be following St. Mary's blueprint from this past week. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't let Gonzaga get a ton of block shots and runouts. And if you watch the game, they had 4 guys back inside the three-point line every time the Zags tried to run. In the half court, they kept the ball out of deep post areas, and they forced the Zags to take tough contested threes and tough contested post shots. Don't let this loss knock you off Gonzaga, though. Expect them to be playing basketball come weekend 2 and weekend 3 this year, and expect them to be a main player for the national championship. Thanks for joining us for week 1 of our March Madness coverage. Coming up this week, starting with our Sunday set tomorrow, we will be featuring the University of Virginia Cavaliers. Yeah, they got knocked out early in last year's tournament, but they're looking to come back and make a deep run this year. And as always, if you're a coach or athlete who's looking to take the game on another level, join us at any of our Point Guard college sessions this summer.